Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Effectively Market After a Storm Event. I'm really excited to be your host today. My name is Jenny. Steve is here as well, and he'll be helping me out by monitoring any of your questions throughout the webinar today. So in case you're not familiar with Surefire and who we are, we're located in Northern Virginia, and our all-in-one marketing platform helps home contractor businesses drive visibility through all channels on the web so they can continue to grow their business. Our mission here is to educate businesses on a variety of topics to help you succeed and to help the industry grow. We want to know who you are as well, so let us know where you're joining us from today. And you can do that using the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. So a few quick reminders before we get started. You will receive the recording of this chat on Thursday via email. And like I mentioned earlier, you can ask us questions, make comments, etc. in the chat box, which again is on the right-hand side. So because you're on the webinar with us right now, you do have a chance to win a Google Home Hub Smart Speaker that we'll be giving away at the end of the talk. So stay tuned till the end because that's when I will be announcing the winner. So without further ado, today we have an exciting guest speaker, Luke Heffron from Hailpost. He's put together a really great presentation for you. So with that, I will pass it on over to Luke.
Great. Thank you, Jenny and Steve, and hello, everybody. Let's jump right into this. So here's what we're going to cover in the next 20 minutes or so. Hold on, let me make sure I've got control of my screen here. Here we go. So the first thing I want to express is that I don't have any magic bullets for you. So a lot of this may be review for some of you that have been around in sales and marketing for a long time. And hopefully you can pick up some nuggets in here. But this presentation is intended to be informative, educational, and on specifically what and how to best market after a storm event. So if you take away nothing else from this other than one thing, in my opinion, it should be that reaching new customers is not a one-time event. It takes time and it takes an ongoing effort to build a client base, but there is a balance between kind of a one-size-fits-all solution and overcomplicating the process. So today I'll share with you what my 20-plus years in sales and marketing has taught me, and hopefully this will, again, give you some insight to help your business. So here's what we're going to cover. There we go. So first thing, a storm hit your area, what do you do? It's the first thing that you should be doing. The second is 5 considerations that you should always keep in mind when making any kind of a conscious effort to find new customers. Then we'll touch on why you should include something that might be kind of a old hat for some of you, and that is direct mail. It's a traditional way of connecting, and it's actually kind of a secret weapon. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then just some final closing thoughts to leave you with some action items. So very quickly, we are a Chicago-based services-oriented company, and we're designed exclusively to relieve the burden of direct marketing for small businesses and for franchise owners. Our principals have been responsible for pioneering many of the direct mail processes that are in place today, and we have a lot of experience in basically every detail of how to make direct mail effective, uncomplicated, and efficient. And although I talk a lot about direct mail, we do a lot of integration with online, with social media, and with digital, which is why we're here talking with Surefire as well. There is a real integration between them that works, and I'll touch on that as well. Over the past 5 years, though, we've mailed over 110 million pieces of mail with 99% on-time delivery and with 95% positive ROI. So we've been around the block a few times with this. And the interesting thing is that we are not a printer. We're not a marketing agency. What we are is essentially a facilitator and a liaison between our customers and the large printers that are out there. So by partnering with some of the most robust direct mail printers, we have the flexibility to select what's best for each of our clients' project, as opposed to trying to fit them into a specific print solution. So that's Hailpost. So the first thing is, the storm hit your area, now what? Well, if you have to ask this question, then in my opinion, you're already too late, because you need to establish a plan of attack before the next storm hits. Otherwise, you're just in a reaction mode and storm chasing, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is one viable way to get business, but you end up on roofs and you have no time to be looking for your next prospective job. So you're slammed for a few days or a few weeks, but then once those jobs get done, what's next? So I want to help you see some ideas about how to stay on top of this and how to plan ahead. So in any kind of a sales and marketing effort, as I said before, there are 5 proven steps to follow. So again, I don't have a magic bullet. I don't propose that we are the smartest people in the room, but there are best practices and steps that are pretty basic that can be followed, and hopefully help your efforts. So these are my five key questions that are always asked. What's the best household to reach? What's the optimal timing about that? And we'll talk a lot about timing. What's the purpose of that contact? So every time we have a communication with someone, whether it's email, direct mail, social, face-to-face, and meeting somebody at the store, we should always know what our intention and our purpose is of that communication. What's the best channel? So again, is it online, which is anything that has to do with digital? Is it offline, which is everything from outdoor advertising to direct mail? Or is it radio? So what are the best channels? And we can talk about that as well, because it does have something to do with timing, not just with technology and what's the latest and greatest. And then the last is, what's the ideal offer? And again, I don't pretend to be an expert on offers, but I think I'll give you some insight that you might not be considering currently about how to set up your offer for your outbound marketing. So first, when you're marketing in your service area, in terms of who you reach out to about your services, there are 2 key factors to consider, and that is, besides location, of course, and that's intensity and timing. So there is a lot of storm tracking data that's available on a subscription basis from a lot of different companies. We work with Hailstrike. There's many out there. We provide it to our clients for no charge when they sign up for Hailpost, because it's critical that they know where that path and where the intensity of that path of that storm is within their service area, so they can pinpoint the best target prospects and then figure out how to go about reaching them and when. So that's real critical. Sometimes, depending on timing, you might want to hit the most critical part of the storm, and later you might want to hit some of the more outlying areas. So again, not rocket science here, but we'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide or two. So the big thing, though, right now is timing. So let me get to that one. So timing is everything, right? We all know this is what a person's house looks like the day after the storm. The storm chasers are lined up all the way down the block. There's 100 of them there, and it's effective, but it's very hard to differentiate yourself in this kind of scenario. So there are 3 critical storm event time markers that we keep track of and that we work with. So the first one is immediately after that storm and within that first week. So what's the most effective way? Well, door-to-door does work in that time frame. People have damaged roofs, they're concerned. A lot of people are reacting and or need to be reactive and make a decision right away. So in that case, door-to-door and the fastest medium, anything that's digital, is going to get to those people the fastest. So that makes a lot of sense. Mail doesn't really work because it's not going to get there in that time frame. The second piece is another group of people, and these averages are approximates, but around 30% of people wait at least another week. They don't have a leaking roof potentially that they know of. They don't have visible damage. They're still considering who it is that they're going to go with. So in this case, direct mail does work because it can get in the home. It can make it from the mailbox back to the house, and it has some shelf life. So there's some consideration in the 1 week plus time frame to be thinking about direct mail. And then the last one is, as you get further out, 6 to 8 months, and you're getting to the point where insurance coverage may be running out. So depending on the storm areas, as you know, a lot of people will hold off because they don't want to get too deductibles if they're in Texas or Colorado and they're getting a lot of potential hail damage. They may not be, having their home repaired after the very first hailstorm. They may wait. So to be able to remind them again that there was a storm back in June, you might want to consider that. Let us take a look at your home. Direct mail has a very solid impact. We've seen a lot of good results around targeting at that time frame. So Again, door-to-door works, email works. You've got 40% of your people that you can hit right away, but you've got another 60% of that population that when the non-local contractors have gone, when people are still maybe even forgetting that they need to have their work taken a look at, there's a large group of people that can still be tapped into. So the next thing we talked about is the actual message itself. So I'm referring to again all types of communication, not direct mail or not just email, but in general. We've all probably seen lots of different sales funnels, but the basics is kind of back to the basics. I like simpler things than more complex. So you basically have this workflow where you're trying to connect with a prospective customer. And at that first point, that interest point, we're trying to generate a lead. The only thing that we're trying to do at that point is get them to either trust you enough to call you or trust you enough and validate your existence and accept your call. So that's the main purpose of a lead generation is you've got qualified customers. You're trying to get them to be open to listening to you through whatever means that is. The second is consideration. And now it's time for you to get to work on why they should trust you. So here's where you come to be talking about your value, your quality, your local presence, your ability to manage, the repairs on a timely basis, whatever that is. But that all ties back to what time frame they're in as well. And then there's that closing stage, and that you are good at, and we're not going to be covering that in this presentation. But if you think about that in terms of when we're communicating with the client, what is the intent? So the intent of a direct mail piece or an email piece is not to close the business. It's not even really to get somebody to get into deep consideration other than consideration for your brand and for your contact. And I'll show you some examples of that further down into the presentation. So I can hear the silence of some of you wondering if direct mail even works. They're saying that it's probably too expensive, or it's too complicated, too many steps, or you've tried it and it hasn't worked. But taking all of these factors into consideration, let me step you through a few more of those concerns and in all honesty, some of those biases towards direct mail and why it's an advantage right now. So first of all, we'll get a little bit psychological here. For every 1,000 contacts that you make, 43 more people will interact with direct mail than with email by itself. It's easier to process. So cognitively, direct mail is a lot easier to read. There's something that's going on in your brain when you're holding a piece of paper and reading it or holding a direct mail piece versus looking at something on the screen. The other thing right now is that your mailbox is not full. I've had one person in the last year of presentations and webinars I've done through different roofing conferences actually raise their hand and say, my mailbox is full. Most people's are not right now, unless you're a rapid online buyer. So there's an opportunity that your piece stands out in the mailbox among everything else that's in there because there just isn't that much clutter anymore. And the other thing is that it works fantastic with digital strategy, which is, again, why we are working with SureLogic. That number up above about response rates of 43 more people, that actually increases even more if you integrate it with direct mail. And I'll show you some numbers on that as well. So I've personally been involved in a lot of direct mail campaigns that have, with some of these companies that are down below, that have worked hand in hand with email. So there's a lot of examples of using these together and where they've worked and where they've been successful. And I know this is kind of an eye chart here of content, but there's some important things on here if you just skim around it. When you combine direct mail with digital ads, with email, you've got another 30% boost on that. There is a proven increase in consumer spending by 25%, 25 out of every 100 people. If they have direct mail and email together, it reinforces that brand. There's different parts of your brain that trigger at different times on different mediums. You also have a higher recognition of email if you follow it up with the direct mail. So some of those brands I showed you on the previous slide, we've done things like notify people, hey, watch your mailbox for an exciting new offer next week. Or we've sent them emails to say, hey, sign up online for an exciting offer. So there's a lot of different ways to integrate these two together. So let's take out some of the confusion around direct mail. There's really two options when you want to target households, when you want to mail after a storm event. And there are some very specific cost differentials and advantages and disadvantages of each. So the one on the left is what we call household specific. And what I mean by that is that you can target specific households and mail exclusively to those homes. So by targeting, you could say, I want to go with specific household incomes, home values, or types of roofs or square footage. There's a lot of different ways that you can slice up data and target a home. The consideration around that is you're probably looking at maybe 25 to 28 cents in postage fees per piece. So you've got a better target, but you've got a more expensive piece that's going into those homes. The other option is what's called a carrier route. So carrier route is the actual physical route that a postal carrier takes. So if you select to mail into a carrier route, you're dropping your postage costs by at least 10 cents a piece, because the Postal Service doesn't have to do any sortation. They're basically, or it has to do a lot less sortation. They're basically carrying pieces into every home in that area. The disadvantage is that you may be, of course, hitting homes that might not be in your target area. Generally, after a storm, a carrier route can be pretty effective unless you have a highly specialized service that you're trying to do. But again, too many companies that we work with are trying to tell customers everything on that first contact, and it really loses its impact. So the ability to blanket an entire area versus trying to hone in a single household is of course a consideration for you. But again, the trade-offs are better targeting versus less cost, to be honest. So the next piece, if you've targeted your home, you have an idea of what your intention is, and you also know the time interval on that. The next piece of this is really, what are the critical things that we want to focus on this particular mailer, whether it's a postcard or a self-mailer. I don't recommend anything other than a postcard or a self-mailer if you are doing direct mail. But again, we tend to try to tell everything on that initial piece. And the only intention of this direct mail piece is to make sure that makes it from the mailbox back to the house and not from the mailbox to the garbage. So we don't need to inundate them with a lot. In fact, the message gets diluted. So we focus on generating interest and awareness around the storm with as few words as possible. The prospect immediately knows what this mailer is about. They see who we are. They get a credibility hit if we've got accreditations on the bottom, and they get a mental trigger that they're going to remember. And that mental trigger is the actual storm date itself. We have seen a lot higher response by not necessarily the hail size, that's an option, but just the fact that, hey, we recognize you were hit by a storm on this particular day. It shows that you're knowledgeable. It shows that you care. You're not just blanket, carpet bombing everybody in the neighborhood, but you're talking about a specific event. So that's about as straightforward as we can get. Your accreditation, your company name, what's the purpose, potentially a variable offer. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then the date of the storm itself. Here's a couple other examples. The one on the right is a little more traditional, but again, it is not filled with a lot of words and a lot of messages. You've been hit by a storm potentially. We want to come take a look at your home. We're in the area. We're accredited. We're trustworthy. Give us a call. So now let's talk a little bit about offers. There's a real challenge around how to differentiate yourself with an offer, because I'm sure that you have used and or seen many times this offer for free inspection, or a no obligation quote, or I've even seen a lot of monetary offers in exchange for an appointment scheduled. So of course these have worked, but they're kind of tried and true and kind of worn out. So what else is there? What other ideas are there around how you can offer something to someone to kind of motivate them? So there are a lot of psychology-based tests around offers that have the most effective way of inducing someone to call to action, and that is contests. So there is a reason that McDonald's has a monopoly scratch-offs, and Doritos has the Super Bowl contest commercial, because people are motivated at a chance to win something bigger. They're more motivated at a chance to win something bigger than they are motivated at a guarantee of something smaller. And that's been proven for many, many years. So by offering someone a chance to win something, and not necessarily a Starbucks card, it may be something that's relevant to the actual process itself. Maybe a certain value off the repairs or whatever. But it could even be a Starbucks card. But a chance to win something has a lot more of an effect than a guarantee of getting something, or something that is pretty much understood as industry standard, like a free inspection. So something to consider, something to think about, but you can easily test this against one of your other offers to see how it pulls. But give that consideration, see how it works. There's a reason that the largest brands in the world use contests versus guarantees, and that is that people are motivated and incentivized at a chance and an opportunity. So some couple of closing thoughts for you here that I want to leave you with. The first one is, and it sounds kind of maybe a little bit hokey, but that mindset of that going into this, there is no instant win, other than door to door, where there may be. But it takes time and it takes a plan to nurture clients and to grow your customer base. So kind of know that going in. I've had a lot of people say, you know what, I tried direct mail once, it didn't work. Well, there are very few people that say, I tried email once, it didn't work. It takes ongoing, continuous thought process development and execution to make any of these outbound campaigns work. So again, create a plan but there are two sides to that. There's the quick hits plan and there's that nurture plan. Again, based on timing and based on channel. The next piece, leverage available tools. Again, one of our favorite ones is SureLogic. So there are tools out there to make your life easier. Not all of them are complicated. I tend to like to find the ones that simplify what I'm doing, not just make it more fancy and make it more difficult. Take advantage of all mediums. No one person responds to direct mail. No one person responds to email. So different mediums work at different times. Different mediums work together more effectively than they do by themselves. So all of these are available to you. Many of them are free. Many of them have trackable, high return on investment. So don't leave out any opportunities that you can at all. And then you also want to review and adjust and learn. Again, because this is an ongoing process, just like when you maybe make a mistake on one of your early roofing jobs, you learn from that, you adjust, you don't do that again. If you get to bring a tool with you, you probably don't forget that the next time. So it's the same thing in your marketing side. You want to be able to come up with a methodology so that you can accurately come back to the programs that you tried, find out how they worked, find out what didn't work, and make adjustments from there accordingly. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead into your slide. I'm sorry. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for your time and for attention today. I hope I've struck on some notes with you, and hopefully it wasn't all review, and maybe we triggered some ideas for you.
Yeah, I hope everyone here did learn something new today, and thank you, Luke, for such a great presentation. So before we get into the Google Home Hub winner, before we get into the Google Home Hub winner today, I want to offer everyone here the opportunity to learn more about Surefire Local, Hailpost, or to learn more about both. We've just launched a poll, so take a second. Let us know if you're interested. If you say yes to either one or both, the correct parties will be in touch with you after the webinar. So while you're answering the poll, I will announce our Google Home Hub winner, and today's lucky recipient is Cody Hine. Congratulations, Cody. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full mailing address, and we will get that shipped right out to you.
There we go.
So I want to say another. So I want to say another huge thanks to Luke and all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. Really hope you learned something new, and I look forward to seeing you online on our future webinars. So please take a minute to fill out the survey at the end. Let us know how we did today, and if there are any topics you'd like to hear about in the future. Just a reminder, we will be sending out the recording on Thursday of this week, so you will have time to go back and re-listen to any parts that you want to hear more. So fill out the survey, let us know your thoughts. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great day.